Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Micro, and on this video guys, I'm gonna talk about certain coins that are listed both on Kucoin and on Bittrex. So I'm gonna go into deeper a bit into some gems, some stuff that I believe are worth it, at least paying attention to them, or some interesting charts that I've seen. Now, not all of them are the best, not all of them are great. Maybe I'll give some bad comments on some of them, but I do believe that there are some coins that they're worth talking about. So I would like to start with Suku, which is one of those coins that still hasn't really pumped. It's still relatively low in market cap, about $75 million. And overall, I do believe it could make a big move at some point. Now, for example, right here, the USD chart doesn't look great. Might be mainly because of Bitcoin, so it might have a dip and then slowly recover. Now it's listed on several other exchanges. It got a fair few listings over Q3 and Q4 of 2020, but that didn't make it go much higher. So it's also got a listing on phoenix, Gate, Bittrex, Kucoin and Gate. And these are the ones that I do believe matter quite a bit, especially for a coin of that market cap. And it's interesting that, for example, we see these spikes here on Kucoin, for example, the Bitcoin pair, but I wouldn't really include them in, how the chart actually looks like. So if this starts going higher, it could look fairly good. So for example, I could also look, let's say, at the one versus Bitcoin on Bittrex. And if you just look at it, it came right here on the big breakdown level where it was initially support, and it hasn't broken above it yet. So it hasn't pumped much, and that means that there is definitely some room to the upside. So it's still relatively cheap. So it's definitely one to start paying attention in case it starts breaking this high with quite a bit of strength. It's definitely a good one to keep an eye on. Now the next one is called Suterusu. It's called SUTER. It's also a very similar coin because it's listed on Bittrex, MXC, Kucoin, Bithumb Global and Gate, but it still hasn't done a big move. So if I just look at, let's say, the Kucoin chart for SUTER, it had a decent up move right here, but it failed miserably, and it has now come back to this area, which could be the big retest. Okay, so a retest before it goes higher. Now if it starts failing, then it's probably a good idea to exit, but remember, these are pretty illiquid. So again guys, I'm showing you coins that could do something big from here. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed, because look, the entire market is in a bit of a mess. So I'm trying to give you the best quality there is right now. So I'm working with the tools I have, and I'm trying to go a bit outside of Binance in case you want to have some assets outside Binance, because I don't want to give you the same stuff. In case, if something happens to Binance, of course, everything's going to take a hit, but I don't want everyone to get like everything on Binance. And that's why I try to kind of diversify between exchanges as well. So this double top right here, I do believe it could get broken. But also, if I just look at this, Suterusu, it has dumped even more. So I do believe it has had a massive capitulation versus the US dollar. If I just look at the entire chart from up here. So it could be a very interesting one if it manages to go higher. Now the next one is a bit of an odd one, which is DeFiChain. It's supposed to be a pretty large one, but I don't know its market cap right now. Now this one had gone up significantly versus the US dollar, and right now it looks like this is like not divergence, like distribution. Okay, so this looks like a bit of a triple top, so it might come down. This one actually started pumping a lot earlier than most coins, and it has that like really weird chart versus Bitcoin. It got listed on Kucoin a bit more recently, but if I just look at the Bittrex chart, it looks like it wants to go higher. Okay, so when you see coins do something like this, that's an interesting sign that something's going on. Okay, when you see like those coins with no selling, or with it looks like the selling is kind of controlled, then maybe you want to enter that coin. And I'm going to give an example right now. So for example, if we look at this chart, I don't know if I'm choosing the right one. Yeah. So you see this looks very special, and this also looks very special. It doesn't look like a normal chart. It doesn't look like a coin, you know, that is free, let's say, of manipulation. I don't mean manipulation in the bad sense, but it looks like somebody was controlling most of the supply and there was no sellers left in that area. Then they actually started selling right here. They created that double top, they created that spike, they started selling, and look how this dumped and it hasn't recovered. So potentially we could see something similar with DeFiChain, but I'm surprised by how it has shown so much strength so far. Now, of course, the trading didn't start with the listing on Bittrex. It had started prior to that, and you can also see something similar right here. So you see, like, those patterns are a bit odd. They're not like typical patterns, typical candles, I would say. Then the next one is RFOX, RedFOX Labs, which has been listed on Liquid for quite some time, but it recently started getting lots of listings on several exchanges like Bittrex, Gate, and Kucoin as well. So a lot of attention, maybe, and I say this so you should be aware of this, it is because these people wanted to sell. So sometimes we've seen this in the past. There is a mass listing event where people start listing a certain coin on some exchanges and then they start dumping. But I would say the chart doesn't look that bad yet. Now, maybe it does come all the way down here, because look, it is up significantly, not too much, but it is up. Now, I don't know if that coin had extra trading, let's say, when it was on Liquid, and you can check right now, because Liquid is a relatively old exchange. No, it hasn't really had any major trading prior to Liquid, because look, Liquid was one of the relatively large exchanges in the past, but now it has faded into irrelevance. So I wouldn't recommend trading there. It's like very, very liquid. But for example, if you want to trade that coin, you can use any of the other exchanges. And you can see the liquidity right here as well. So of course, Bittrex and Gate are more liquid than Kucoin right now. So again, guys, look, I do believe that this is relatively strong because I like the way it broke out here. It got a lot of listings, but this right here, I don't like the way it failed in this area. Again, it might be a bit because, you know, of whatever is going on with Bitcoin too. So I wouldn't want to blame it just on this coin, but overall, I like its strength right now. And I do believe that, for example, if it comes here, it could potentially launch into the moon. Now, next one is called Bosagora. It's called BOA, similar market cap similar market cap to, let's say, the previous coins, because RFOX was relatively larger. It was one that is listed on several Korean exchanges as well, and it's now dumping. But I would like to show you guys the chart and see, for example, how much damage has been done on some of the Korean coins. Because okay, now this doesn't show. Actually, the problem with sometimes with coin market cap on CoinTrader Pro is that they don't really update the prices quickly. So maybe if I just leave it right here, it will recover soon. It will retrieve all the data. But look at how this was moving like this and then all the way down. That was listed on some like random exchanges, then it got listed on Bittrex, etc. And it got a listing on Kucoin, I think before the start of the alt season or about the beginning of the alt season. So I do believe that this could have a fairly big pump. And the reason is that, look at this. First of all, it hasn't pumped as much as many of the other Korean coins or tokens. And that leaves it some room for a relatively big pump. But also I do believe that this kind of looks a little bit like a triple top, okay? So we came all the way down here, nice capitulation, and now it could potentially go higher. I would say you should wait for that coin maybe to show some strength, especially to see whether the Korean premium comes back. Maybe today the fact that it hit zero, the premium on Korean exchanges, which had gone up to 24%, that was quite large. Potentially that thing going back to zero was a nice reset for, you know, the market. Now potentially it could go a bit lower. Maybe usually sometimes premiums and all that, after having a massive premium, they get into like steep discounts and then they come back to normal and potentially start rising again in a bull market. At least that's what usually happens. So again, this is definitely one coin to watch, and it has a few listings, like let's say on Bithumb as well. So for example, like the type of coins that have been listed on Korean exchanges that have pumped quite a bit, one of them is phoenixdao, which has done fairly well over the last few days, and it has held very, very nicely. It was one that I wanted to share with you guys, but unfortunately I was a bit late because I was making some other videos. I want to share this play because I do find it fairly interesting. At least I didn't want to show you guys like this move, but because of that dip, if you look at this one on Kucoin, let's say, look at how nicely we had all those highs right here. It did have a nice correction, nothing too major like other coins that were listed on Korean exchanges have suffered massive collapses. This looked way more orderly, and the reaction here is fairly nice as well. And now, given the fact that we could maybe at some point, you know, chop a bit around in this area, maybe come down once more and bounce again, at least, like, you know, whenever you see this kind of thing, like a low of resistance for some time and then lots of highs like this one, you definitely want to think about that coin. And overall, I do believe that it's still one of those that is relatively weak, cheap, because it had a massive capitulation over the last few years, and this increase right here, it's still nothing much compared to other coins. Now, of course, if you caught it down here, you would have wanted to get out with some of your money because it was an easy trade, even though you might have put a bit less than the rest. Now, this coin is not a micro cap, is I do believe not a mega cap, but it's probably below mid cap, because again, I do assume that anything below 1 billion nowadays is relatively small. Next one, Quant QNT, is one that I've heard a lot of people talk about it, guys, and some people have made like some really weird comments, and I do believe that it's a very, very interesting coin, because now it was mostly listed on Bittrex, and I've been told that the guys behind Quant, they haven't really wanted to list it on many exchanges. Now, it recently got a listing on Kucoin, and I do believe that it also got a listing on Gate, and it does have the potential to do very, very well. It has been on the top 100, at least it was on the top 100 for quite some time, until it got essentially dethroned because it hadn't really moved. But when I look at the Bitcoin chart, I do get a bit of the sense that this is a really, really massive accumulation. Okay, so I would be surprised if that was distribution. Like, it wouldn't make any sense to me. And now this really massive rally, of course, it did have, you know, a massive correction, and most rallies have fully corrected and fully reversed. But the more times we're testing this area up here, the more I do believe that this is like a mini reaccumulation. So if we assume that that was the big move up, and potentially that came from even lower, that could result into a big massive increase, especially if it starts get some listings on major exchanges like Binance, Huobi, and all that. Because I know that these people have not really pushed for any listings, and I assume that many other coins do the same. But just be aware that just a few of them might be the catalyst for a really, really massive increase. So this coin essentially has been following Bitcoin for about, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 years, and it's been just doing whatever Bitcoin does. It just in an amplified fashion. It doesn't really have massive volatility against Bitcoin. It has held very well compared to other coins that were dumping relentlessly. So that's why at some point it was in the top 100, but now it's not. But I do believe it could be one of those that does very, very well. Maybe it's something that you want to hold in the really long term. Now, even if it does come down and break those lows right here, even if it comes all the way down here, I wouldn't be surprised if afterwards it results into something like this. Definitely want to watch, guys. And I do believe that if I had to choose one from all those coins that I've mentioned so far, potentially this could be the one. Okay, even if it's larger than the rest, because it hasn't really moved at all and it has been consolidating so hard for so long, I do believe it could do very well. Plus, you know, those coins that have gotten some of those extra listings, like let's say Kucoin, Gate, and even if it's just small exchanges, just little additions into liquidity could have a really big impact, because some guys are trading only on some exchanges. So the more coins are spread on exchanges and all that, you know, the more likely it is that a coin will pump. Of course, larger exchanges matter a lot more, and maybe sometimes the listings on really big exchanges are the catalyst for a big exit, because then those big holders can exit with liquidity. But at least for now, these smaller additions could be the catalyst for a big move up, because it's like the Bitcoin halving. Okay, when you cut the supply in half, maybe initially the impact is not large, but if demand stays the same, then, you know, slowly that pushes things over and there is a big increase. So you could see that in the same way. So potentially some people on KuCoin that trade only there, they might see it and they might be like, okay, let's put some money in there. So even if that does increase the demand just by 1 or 2 or 3%, that could be something very, very important and have a very big impact on a certain coin. And finally, guys, I want to talk about the phoenixdao. So this one has been on Bittrex and it was one of the gems. I don't remember exactly how it turned out to be, but I think that it was a fork of something. It was something, I do remember that it happened along with Dawn, which was renamed after First Blood. It was just another project and it was just a gem on Bittrex. I didn't really pay that much attention to it, but it did have a really nice pump as well. And now it's just back to this nice area right here, and it got a very recent listing on KuCoin as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if from here it does another push higher. So here's the thing, some of the coins that come all the way up here will be coins that actually top because they have done a cycle against Bitcoin. So the same way I've shown coins do a cycle, let's say that coin was like this. Oops. Let's assume that the pump started from here, it went all the way up, then it came all the way down, then it came all the way up right here. So it's done a full cycle against Bitcoin. Of course, has gone up a lot more in the US dollar because since August, the Bitcoin price has gone up 5-6x from 10k. So if you just think about it, you know, many of these coins just do a cycle against Bitcoin and then they just die. Okay, but some of them that have these double tops, eventually, maybe even if it takes a little bit of time, maybe even if they do something like this first, okay, maybe afterwards, after cooling down for a bit, they might come all the way back up here, and when these double tops break, then the coin does an extra 2 or 3x from these tops right here. Okay, so it's definitely something to watch. It is one that I like because it's also a really, really small, that's a micro cap, guys. It's a $10 million market cap, essentially 9 million. So I would definitely watch it. It's not listed just on KuCoin and Bittrex. It does have some other smaller exchanges as well, but I wouldn't really I include them in my calculations. But I do believe that it could potentially fly if it gets a little bit more attention. So that's it from me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Please leave a comment. Just let me know if I got anything wrong, if you like anything specifically about those coins, if there is anything that you would like me to talk about. And once again, just come visit my TradingView page, come visit my Twitter account, come visit my Telegram channel. Just say hello, just let me know. Again, if you want to send me a message and not a comment on YouTube, that's fine. And once again, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.